So I know I'm totally slow on getting around to making a video on my thoughts on this since it aired Thursday night and it's now Sunday, but I did watch the remake on Fox of Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I'm gonna preface this by saying I'm not like most of the people who've reviewed it here on YouTube so far. I actually did enjoy it. That said, it was by no means perfect. It had plenty of problems, but I still enjoyed watching it. Don't get me wrong, I did very much enjoy it. So, with that said, let us get into this. So, the first thing that grabbed me about this of why I needed to see it in addition to just, being Rocky Horror Picture Show, which I've loved for years. Being a self-identified queer teenager, I watched it many times in my teens. So I am very well acquainted with the original. I may have shown it to my youngest sister at an age that she did not comprehend it yet. And she watched this with me, and all of a sudden it clicked what she had watched years earlier, and she's like, "Oh my god, you showed me that when I was little." I'm like, education. But anyway, yeah, so I was really grabbed by finding out that Laverne Cox was playing Dr. Frankenfurter. Now, I love Orange is the New Black, and Laverne Cox's character on there, Sophia Bursette, is actually one of my absolute favorites on that entire series. So I was just like, oh, fuck, yes. This is happening. We are watching this. And lucky for me, my dad was weirdly just as excited to watch this too, since turns out he actually went to a bunch of live productions of Rocky Horror when he was a teenager. Who knew, right? I knew he'd seen a movie, but I didn't know he'd actually gone to the live productions before. I was like, my dad just made me proud for once. So, anyway, so there was that. And I didn't know much else about it. Like, I knew Victoria Justice was in it, and I know the name. I don't know her from anything. I don't know her music if she's a singer. I recognize hearing the name, so I was like, well, I guess that's cool. And I recognized Adam Lambert's name, but that kind of made me eye roll, because I am admittedly not a fan of his. I don't hate him or anything, I just don't happen to be a fan of his, so. When he kind of got too big for his britches and decided to join Queen in Freddie Mercury's place, I was like, yeah, he can go fuck himself. But anyway, that aside. I'm trying to think if there was anyone else I recognized the name. Oh yeah, Ben Vereen. I was excited that Ben Vereen was in this, because I do love him. He's awesome. So that had my attention too, but I did not know that he was in it till literally the day of it airing. And then was just ridiculously excited. Was there anyone? Oh, and Tim Curry himself was in it, not reprising the Frankenfurter role, but he was in it, so I was like, alright, well, apparently it has his blessing if he's in it, so how bad could it be, right? And then apart from that, I'm not sure if I recognized the other names or not. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think everyone else, I didn't really know who exactly they were on their own right. So we got to Thursday night, and we watched it, and the very first thing that I was taken by with this was they prettified everybody. Like, literally everyone in this production they made pretty. Those of you who've seen literally any version of it, be it the movie version, a live version, know that Rocky Horror is kind of a gritty thing. It is not really intended to be all pretty and pristine. That's not the nature of this beast. I'm sorry, it's not. So, that was issue number one I took with it. Until I saw Riff Raff, and then I backpedaled a little because I had to pick my jaw up off the floor and put my tongue back in my mouth. Not gonna lie, total girl crush going on right now over that guy. Which is rare, because I normally do not get crushes on guys anywhere near my age, or even young-ish. Usually the only guys I like are, old enough to be my dad, or older, like my grandpa's age. So it's like, yeah, this was kind of bizarre that I actually, instantly was just like, oh my god, over, this guy. He was just so gorgeous. He's like, if you mix Todd Rundgren, young Keith Richards, and Jared Leto into one person, this is that guy. So, like, legit, every commercial break, I was on my laptop just, like, searching up more and more pictures of this guy. I was like, oh my god, he's hot! But, anyway, yeah. Take a cold shower, Jen, I know. So, yeah, that. I will be watching Penny Dreadful, now that I have discovered that this man is beautiful. But anyway, this is not about that. So, yeah. Issue number 2 I took with this. They tried to recreate the live production experience of it, even though it appeared that they were watching it in a movie theater. And they didn't even really capture the nature of that experience. First off, everyone was, like, dressed similarly to... God, I mean... how Eddie's character would dress. They basically all looked like they were there to dress like him. I have never, ever been to any production where literally everyone who showed up was dressed like that. Ever. Ever. So I was just like, what the fucking shit is this? So that was issue number 1. They also had them bring the requisite items that one takes to a live production of it, but it just felt so forced and so synthetic and fake, and just, it was painful every time they would pan back to them. And all of a sudden, they just, like, stopped showing them, and it was as if we were supposed to forget they were ever there to begin with. So... that made for some confusing feelings of, okay, is this supposed to be a live production? Is this supposed to be them going to see the movie? Is this, like, what is this? What is this? Because, I mean, they had the singing girl at the beginning singing science fiction double feature and sitting in the back of the movie theater, which implies they went and saw the movie, even though it's very much not the movie, but that's beside the point. And then, towards the end of it, that theater is very much empty except for the cast members, so it's like, what? Like, what just happened here? That, were we not supposed to notice this? Because I feel like Fox just assumes we're really fucking stupid. So that was, like, a big major issue in my book with it, in addition to the prettifying of everybody, even though, yes, they looked all pretty, but just... You don't need to do that to Rocky Horror. So, my other really, really big issue that is more of a personal thing to me than probably most people was how they changed Columbia. Columbia's always been my favorite in that movie. Basically, I always viewed her as, like, a redheaded Liza Minnelli character. So, I obviously loved her. She bears absolutely no resemblance to that character whatsoever in any way, shape, or form in this version of it. She basically just looks like a female Eddie. Like, little emo, goth hoe is, like, the best description I can possibly give her in this. I mean, in her own right, if you were to completely detach the film version from it and just look at this as a standalone thing, I guess on her own merit, she's cute in her own way. But when you're, like, well acquainted with the original, this shit is not gonna cut it. Especially if she is your favorite. I'm sorry, it's not. And I have dated girls who've looked something like this version of Columbia. And I was just like, no, I'm not feeling this. Nope. So, yeah, just saying. So the whole time, like, basically every time they brought her back, all I could do was just cringe over this version of Columbia that I just kind of could not stand. She honestly just pissed me off left and right. So, yeah. That was my other real big issue here. There was also just a bunch of smaller, nitpicky things that I noticed throughout it, and just the way they approached it. They watered down a lot of things. And it was like, I get that it's Fox. I get that they can't really do this completely true to the original because it's on Fox. So I wasn't expecting that. But at the same time, it is Rocky Horror. And there is a certain level that, is kind of expected here to go with that. And if you can't meet that, you probably shouldn't be attempting to do it in the first place, as far as I'm concerned. That's just my opinion. But gosh, I just so many things that left me really feeling like, I'd really just rather watch the original right now. I want the original back. And I did end up watching that too, but it was just like, the hell is this? Why did they do this way? I don't get it. And like Riff Raff, they basically made his character like I apologize for the political incorrectness here, but they basically made him mentally retarded. I'm sorry, like the only one in this cast who should be approached that way is freaking Rocky, which yeah, his character is supposed to be that way. Riff Raff, not so much. So I was like, what is this? What is this? I don't understand. And just I don't know. There was a lot of weird things, like the dinner scene. Everybody was all on the same side of the table, which felt very forced for TV. Trust me, there's plenty of ways you can film this where you can show everyone, and they're on both sides of the table. They didn't go there, though, so I was like, oh, well, this kind of feels more like a demented version of The Last Supper than what this is supposed to be. So there was that. But, yeah. And just in general, I hate to call out Laverne Cox for this, given I was so excited for her, but I don't know, her lines just didn't feel natural. It felt like she was trying too hard to be Tim Curry's version of Dr. Frankenfurter instead of making the role her own. And a lot of the lines just came off sounding really weird. I don't know how to describe it beyond weird, but they didn't sound natural coming out of her mouth, like at all. It felt very strange, just even the way that the words were spoken. And the way that the songs were approached, it wasn't as bad as the dialogue, I guess, but something with those, she's not a bad singer, I think she was trying too hard to be Tim Curry, and it left a lot to be desired, because it was very obvious that she wasn't trying to make it her own that hard. She was trying to walk in someone else's footsteps. So, and whenever someone does that, it just leaves you with this whole feeling of, I'd really rather just go watch the original instead of this, which is a cheap imitation. So there's that. And we haven't even touched on Adam Lambert yet. I will be 100% honest here. I am like probably the one person who just is bothered by Meatloaf in general. Baseline, I just do not care for the guy. So with Rocky Horror, I do tend to fast forward past the hot patootie scene. I'm sorry. Confession. So watching this version of it, I was kind of just like, wow, even as somebody who does not care for the original version of this version really sucks. Like, point blank sucks with a capital S. What the hell was that? So I was actually kind of relieved that they killed him off as quickly as they did in this, so I wouldn't have to think about him again. And like, what was up with his face when they showed his dead body in the table? Like, what the fuck was that face? That did not look like this guy is dead type of face. That was just like, he's making the weirdest expression he possibly can because he can. I don't know why he made that face for it. Like, I feel like somebody should screen cap that and make a fucking meme of it or something. It made no sense whatsoever, and they showed it a few times, and I was just like, I feel like a horrible person for laughing at this, but what the fuck is that? And just like got laugh face every damn time they showed it. And Kimmy was watching it with me, and she kind of had the same reaction to it. But yeah, surprisingly, I actually liked Victoria Justice in this more than I anticipated to, because I just assumed she was another annoying modern pop star that I probably won't be able to stand. But no, she actually was pretty tolerable. Unfortunately, it made me feel like I was watching Glee and watching frickin' Rachel Berry, but I liked Rachel Berry, so it's not entirely a bad thing. But, yeah, a lot of this production of Rocky Horror actually did remind me of that time Glee tried to do Rocky Horror. Does anyone remember that? Because I have tried to block that from my memory so hard and have failed. So that's a thing. If you were unaware of happened, yeah, we'll leave it at that. But the fact that this reminded me of that, I was like, oh god, this is not good. This is not good. But at the same time, I didn't flat out hate the whole thing either. I mean, I still sat through all of it. I still, despite having a million complaints with it, thought the grand majority of it was enjoyable. But I still would have rather have watched the original. But the gorgeousness of that guy who played Riff Raff, though, kind of made it worthwhile either way, not gonna lie. So, there's that. But, yeah. I don't know. It was a very, very odd version of it, and I'm not sure why they changed the specific things that they did. But they did. And it just was very, very odd. I don't know. I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. So I don't know whether to say I liked it or hated it. 'Cause again, I don't feel like I hated it. I definitely can't say I loved it either, but it's a mixed bag. So if you haven't watched it yet and you're still going to, go into it with, try to watch it with an open mind. Be aware that it is by no means perfect. And I did not expect it to be perfect. But it does leave a lot to be desired. It's kind of like, I don't know, maybe if a high school attempted to do Rocky Horror as like the school musical for the year, I could see it being something like this. Just saying. It's like that level of watered down. So just be aware of that going into it. And yeah, so let me know in the comments if you have watched this, what you thought of it, good, bad, or otherwise. No judgments here. No judgment zone. No matter what you thought of it. Whether you loved it, whether you hated it, if you're somewhere in the middle like me. It's all good. I just want to know what y'all thought of it. And if you haven't watched it yet, but you're going to, come back and let me know when you have watched it, what you thought of it. Because I don't know. It was such a strange thing that I just have to know what other people thought of this. So, leave it in the comments for me. And till next time.